Hey there, welcome back to Mocktails with Marina. I'm your host, Marina, and today we are going to be inviting you into the heart of the modern mocktail. This episode is going to be all about our mission, the reason we exist, and the impact we hope to make in the world of non-alc beverages and third spaces and beyond. In today's conversation, we're pulling back the curtain to share why we started the journey, what drives us, and how we're working to create meaningful change. We believe that by empowering business owners, we can build a brighter future together. And for perspective, next week's episode will be a 2024 year in review where we'll dive into our highlights, lessons learned, and what to look forward to both with the Modern Mocktail and in the non-alc industry in general in 2025. So let's start with the why behind the Modern Mocktail. From day one, our mission has been about creating the biggest impact possible. We realized that by helping non-alc business owners across the country, we could indirectly touch the lives of thousands, maybe even millions of people. Think about it. Every entrepreneur we work with is a lighthouse for their community. Their business becomes a safe harbor, a beacon of connection and inclusivity. These third places are essential. They're spaces where people can relax, bond, and celebrate life without the pressure of alcohol. By helping these business owners build and strengthen their lighthouses, we're helping to create more of these vital spaces across the country. And that's a beautiful thing. We all have a dream and a unique set of talents that helps us get to our vision. If we're not fully embodying our passions, then we're missing out on one of the most precious parts about life, which is making a real impact. And as much as I love to serve people from behind a bar, and I know I'm good at it, and I know I can do it for quite a bit of time, I know that my unique set of talents can help the industry as a whole progress forward, and that's where I'm needed. Even though it's kind of the scary place to be, the bar is the safe space, the community is the safe space, for me at least. But here's my why behind this, and here's our why at the Modern Mocktail, both myself and my husband. We've seen the flip side, right? There are some incredible spaces out there that can be tarnished by poor leadership or poor ownership or poor communication, poor structure. Toxic management can cause even the most vibrant of Edens to rot. It's heartbreaking, but it's also preventable. I repeat this often in my podcast and in my programs. No one ever just wakes up one day and says, you know what? I want to be an asshole. But yet it happens anyways when we are unaware of how much weight we're carrying and pushing onto others in our work environments. So being an owner means you've got great freedom and great responsibility. Being an employee means you're trading your time for cash. And while that may be limiting scheduling wise, they choose to be employees because they want to clock out of work and be present with their lives in that way. So do not ever give your burden of ownership to your team unless you're willing to make them co-owners. This is a very big mindset block that tends to cause a really otherwise wonderful establishment to turn into a toxic workplace. You want to be able to build a structure where you have support as an executive, as an owner, elsewhere with other people who understand what that pressure is, but not on the people who rely on you to give them a paycheck. They choose to rent their time and their presence to you because they don't want to be involved with those logistics. And the moment you put that weight on them, if they are not getting an equal exchange of energy or opportunity, i.e. ownership or some sort of extra bonus structure, then what you're doing is using people. And it's so sad because no matter how beautiful of a place you create, if you're not treating your team appropriately, even if they're not your employees, even if they're just your contractors, even if they're just people who are in your general space, if you don't have the awareness to act in a courteous and professional way, keeping, again, certain burdens to yourself or to that executive team, then that's where business owners get sloppy. That's where they end up pushing people away from their own business. And I've seen it happen to where when people see an owner's, vehicle show up, then people end up turning around and leaving. They'll pack their bags and head out. They'll order their drinks to go. And all of a sudden there's a lull in the numbers until that owner's vehicle leaves, right? I've seen it happen before, and I don't want this to happen to you. Because again, no one wakes up wanting to be an asshole. It happens when we're overwhelmed. So whether you want to build your non-alc business or you want to optimize and expand it, that's where we come in here at the Modern Mocktail. We are your executive support. We work to ensure that new entrepreneurs start on the right foot with a solid foundation and a clear vision. And for established business owners, we help them get their operations in order. Whether the goal is to optimize, become more profitable, create a better work environment, or even scale, like expanding or franchising, we're absolutely here to support you. So the work isn't just about individual businesses, although of course we absolutely love our private one-on-one client retainers. We absolutely have so much joy in seeing businesses go from idea, from concept to a real working reality. We start to see the effects of the community that they're in change, and it's a wonderful thing, right? And then when we get to kind of expand outward and we get to globalize our perspective a bit, it's about creating a ripple effect of change, right? The more thriving non-alc spaces we have, the more we can challenge the narrative that alcohol is necessary for connection or celebration. And ultimately, that's the kind of cultural shift we want to be a part of. Imagine a world of options where mocktails are on every menu and non-alc third places come in a variety of styles all around your town or city, maybe even replacing some old traditional pubs that serve alcohol. It's a big vision, but it's an entire industry that's growing more rapidly than just about anything right now. There's so much opportunity. There's still so much more demand than there is supply in a lot of regards. Whether that comes to the brick and mortar spaces that you enjoy these beverages in, whether it's more variety of certain types of non-alc spirits or RTD options. There's a lot of opportunity in this field. It's an incredibly exciting time to be here. I am not just saying this as someone who, again, is here to help people do the thing, because I'll be honest with you, there are certain times where I wouldn't be saying this, right? Year 2020, no one would be giving that advice out. But we are in a very incredible time and space. But that being said, it's also you'll hear me talk a lot more about this in next week's episode when I kind of give a forecast for 2025 and what we think the industry is currently and where we think it's going to be going, what our predictions are for 2025. And one thing I want to mention, and a lot of us are kind of talking about in general in the industry, is, people are taking notice of how quickly non-alc is growing. And that means that like the big league players, the people with multi-million bankroll opportunities where it's, they're here because they know that it's the next thing, and we're officially no longer like, any sort of hipster type situation, right? Like this is where the mainstream is fully coming in to acceptance. I mean, we're even seeing a huge study that was done that I'd love to give you a little insight on. So this is kind of a sneak peek. In January 2025, I'm going to be releasing a series of podcast episodes regarding the massive nationwide study that the Kava Coalition is about to release, as well as the set of standards that were just released this past Thursday regarding, again, the Kava industry. So 8 million people, I believe, were surveyed, interviewed. This is a massive, comprehensive study, and it showed that 8% of people have tried kava at this point, which, by the way, for people who are kind of new to kava, have not been in kava bars, like, for the longest time, this was a very, this was only in Florida. And then it slowly made its way into different states, but it's never been mainstream. Most customers that come in the door, it's not like Starbucks where people come in and they're like, what do you want? And if you've never been to a Starbucks, doesn't matter. You could say your coffee order and they will figure it out. Whereas kava bars, like, if you've never been before and you don't know what kava is, like, you have to undergo an entire educational experience before you can even make an order. So, like, you are in the establishment for a good 5 to 10 minutes before you are even able to, like, comprehend what's going on, basically, because of how far removed kava, kratom, a lot of the functional botanicals, that's how far removed out of society and, like, the mainstream that they are, right? It just requires a lot of conversation, being good at the type of sales that isn't pushy, but more of like, okay, let me figure out what I think would be the best recommendation for you. And then just, like, after getting to know you a little bit, doing the thing, right? It's an art form to make a good drink in that way. And I think that whole process is something that it's not going to be a relic of the past, but going more into the mainstream. 2025 is an incredible time where we're going to really have a big opportunity here. We all got to be on our best behavior, and we all got to do what we want to do, because this is the year that I think it's going to explode. Again, I'm going to be talking a lot more about this in the next episode, but I only bring it up because we're talking about our mission here. And this is something, so we are always attending meetings, whether it is with the Kava Coalition or with different state governments who are basically trying to figure out what to do with kava, right? There are places where kava bars have opened, and then the local government agencies have put a moratorium on any new establishments being open because they're just unsure of what all of these new functional ingredients are. And quite frankly, they have every right to, have good due process, because if you don't have your checks and balances in place and people are selling snake oil, or worse, they're selling you stuff that has even more intense, unsober side effects than advertised, that would also be an incredibly dangerous and morally unethical thing and type of establishment to have. So it's great to have, there be questions in place. There needs to be some sort of system, right? But that being said, some people take it too far, and then certain politicians or political interest groups will come in and they will try to sway things, whether it's pharmaceutical companies, whether it is like how city planning and zoning works. Like, there are so many random things that can get in the way. And this is a lot of the work that we do that we don't get paid for. We go because it's our passion, because it's what we love to do, just because, number one, we're naturally curious, and number two, when we take a look at the non-alc industry and what we want to do for it, and we see, okay, these are going to be, like, we're not going to have future clients if this isn't solved, right? Like, we can't be a business if everything becomes so weirdly regulated that it's, like, almost technically loophole level impossible to open an establishment. Like, that's not the world we want to live in. So we want to make sure people are doing it right. And again, when we think about what we're passionate about and what our skill set is, again, I would love to be a kava tender for the rest of my life. I think it would be a beautiful, fun, and honestly, it's a great career. And anybody who does that, like, you are helping people, like, no matter what, right? unfortunately, I went to school for math, and problem solving at a very high level is something that I can't help but to do. So, and this is very dear to mine and my husband's hearts. Like, this is something that we, even in our free time, we can't help but to talk about and help but to think tank about what we can do. Who do we need to talk to? What meeting do we need to get into in order to ensure that things are good for the industry? So all of that being said, one thing that we are fiercely committed to is transparency. So while we do have a few paid partners, the Modern Mocktail as a company is not sponsored by anyone. If we recommend a product, it's because we genuinely believe in it, and we have reached out to them and we have asked them for an affiliate link, because we're like, hey, we're going to be putting out your product anyway, because we say that we like you and we're consultants. People are going to ask us. You are the answer. So, since we're already scratching your back, you want to scratch ours and give us an affiliate code, right? We have been approached, right? Like, we have been approached by other companies, and we have been given plenty of samples that we have actually turned down. We've turned down more partnerships than we've accepted. This year alone, we've received countless product samples. Some were great, but many didn't meet our standards. And when that happens, we're honest about our feedback, and we decline collaborative opportunities until those issues are resolved. Our reputation and integrity matter much more than a quick deal, because at the end of the day, how can we help an industry if we are not keeping the industry's best interest in mind, right? So we wouldn't want anybody to even think about selling a product that would harm their business or their customers, their community, right? Like, we want to do good by you, and you want to do good by your people, right? So that is infinitely more important to us. So we primarily make our money in our business by selling both group programs and through our one-on-one support retainers to assist business owners in a variety of tasks and strategic development assessments. We also donate our time to speak with, again, local and national public lawmaking officials, but also other consultants in adjacent industries. We do a lot of just public education so that they understand what our industry is, what kinds of regulations that everybody has to keep in mind. So we do a lot of networking, not only for business, but also to just educate everybody in any adjacent industry so that they understand like what everybody has to go through. Like, hey, vendors, do you understand like what these, non-alc bar owners have to go through? Or, if someone's a product development specialist, but they aren't aware of consumer habits inside of these spaces right now, how do they know how to make the right product, right? So we act as that like central educating unit that helps a variety of different industry points understand each other. So in that way, like, while yes, we do have those affiliate links, again, we are not sponsored by anyone, and we put this all together ourselves. We also want to mention that everything in this podcast is self-produced and self-written as well. We pay for every aspect of the show because we want it to be a true reflection of our mission and values. So this podcast is our way of continuously giving back and reporting back to you what we're seeing live in the field, getting this out so that you can make real-time great decisions based on what's actually happening, what we're seeing, what conversations are being had, not just because of what one person said somewhere. Like, what we do is think tank, and this is a space to share knowledge, inspire change, and celebrate the amazing work that's happening in the non-alc community. At the end of the day, the Modern Mocktail is about more than just business. It's about building a movement where people feel connected to create and support spaces that celebrate connection, creativity, and community without relying on alcohol. Every decision we make, every project we take on is with that mission in mind. It's about lifting others up so that they can shine brightly in their communities. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Whether you're a client, a listener, or someone who's just curious about this space, you are a part of this journey. Your support means the world to us. So if there are any elephants in your room or in your business that need any sort of addressing, if there are any pain points that you know that you've probably got a solution to maybe somewhere, but it's unclear, right? And time is money, and money is opportunity, right? And we want to be able to make sure you make the biggest impact, the most profit without burning out, so you have that lifestyle richness along the way. Like, that is our number one main goal, because if you're taken care of, then others are taken care of. You cannot give from a cup that is not full. One of the best things you can do for yourself and for your community is to self-care. I heard an interview recently this week that talked about different people who are, professionals in athletic fields, and like how much money they spend per year on their own bodies. So this is not like what money, like this is literally like how much they spend on physical therapy and spa treatments and things that are just self-care related. And, we see some of these high-performing athletes, let's look at the NBA. Some of them are spending like $1 to $4 million per year on all of the self-care treatments, right? That sports therapy, all of the things. If you look at yourself as the most important investment in your life, and you realize that you are the key to everything. Like, if you have a passion inside of you, like, you are given a gift that is specifically, like, only you can decode. So your passion, your vision, it may not totally make sense to other people. That's okay. The only person it needs to make sense to is you. And then you pick up the pieces along the way. You find people who understand the pieces and help decode those pieces back to you, so you put the whole picture together and bring it to life. Like, you're not supposed to know everything in order to like jump on a dream. Like, you don't just wake up one day and you're like, I have it all figured. Like, what would be the fun in that, first off? But number two, like, that's not the way that this journey works for anybody successful. Anybody who is successful, what they do is they decrease the amount of time from thought to action. And I'm not saying that they're spontaneously like just doing whatever, yes people, like, but what they're doing is they are able to condense their data analysis time, because they don't have to go looking for all the information. First off, it's all in one succinct place. But number two, they've also already, they're in sync with their business, they're in sync with their industry, they are tapped into the energy or the flow of what's going on around them. So it's easier for them to go from point A to B, because they have all the resources at their fingertips, and they've figured out what they need to do to keep that a well-oiled machine. Because in order to have all of the resources at your fingertips, it's not like you wake up one day and you're like, oh my goodness, like, I don't have to work or anything. That's not how it works at all. And in fact, it's the opposite. Right? Because if you have all the things, then you know that you are doing some sort of amazing balancing act. I just think of in the circus when there's someone balancing on a ball with sticks and plates and all the crazy things. And because that's what ultimately it is when you are running a vision, and it's a dance, it's a balance. That is not achieved overnight. It is not achieved without practice. And it's not even one of those things that you can like research or put a plan together for 10 years and then guarantee success. A lot of learning it, a lot of being in that flow is by jumping in. So yeah, you may not like know how to swim the first time you enter a pool, but you don't learn about how to swim by reading a book or just watching someone. You do it by doing it, right? So again, when I think about our entire mission and what it means specifically to you. Like, why would you care? Why does this episode mean anything to you? It's because I want you to understand and see that we very deeply understand this industry. Like, we have lived and eaten it and breathed it forever. I've been in nightlife my whole life in some way, shape, or form. And even though I went to school for math, like service industry from day one, and I don't really want to work in another one. I literally went to a lab for a few years and did not like it. I excelled there, which is what brought me into the executive suite, and it challenged me in a lot of ways that showed me, okay, like, I do have my wits, I do have my understanding about me. What can I do? How can I apply that information and talent in this industry? Because this is a legitimate industry that deserves to be more legitimized instead of kind of just half-assed thrown together or looked at from some like hobbyist perspective. Like, it's so weird to me when I speak to some people who are just not in the industry at all, and they just don't get it. They just look at it like the help sometimes, or they look at it like it's a hobby or a side thing. But to me, it's an entire art form that takes a lifetime to truly master. You know, the art of serving people and being able to provide experiences and delights that are, you know, memorable. You know, it takes a lifetime because context is key, and you have to be present in order to deliver these things. And helping you be present as a business owner is the most important thing I could possibly do. Because when you are focused, when you are well taken care of, when you are supported, you are amazing. Like, you have a vision that is so unique and so needed. And if you have an inkling to open a brick and mortar in your area, the world needs it desperately. They are desperately seeking connection. Again, we're going to go over this a lot in tomorrow's episode, 2025 views. This is not just me being hopeful. This is me seeing what is going on and seeing the massive success we're seeing a lot of different establishments having, and what the difference is between the people who are hitting it on the mark and those who are just treading water and they are not quite making the movement that they thought that they were. It is our goal to help as many people figure this out as possible, because we also believe that this grassroots movement needs to be done right. We don't want someone coming in like a Starbucks, like a McDonald's, coming in, franchising the whole thing before the mom and pop movement even got started. We think that it's really important that we keep this as many small business owners as possible, because that's the only way to truly be able to serve your community. You have to be in touch with them. It doesn't make sense to industrialize this, because then it kind of parallels what the pharmaceutical companies have done to a lot of really incredible botanical products. They've basically made it very difficult to just serve on a regular kind of casual level, like in this kind of environment of like a non-alc lounge. Like, for example, there are some botanicals that, do they deserve to be locked up behind a key just because, if you prepare it some way, it turns it into something very intense? Like, technically you can do that with a lot of things, right? There's a lot of, like, any plant is poisonous at the wrong level. Like, you can hurt someone with peppermint, okay? Like, you can hurt someone with vanilla, okay? It's all about how much you're ingesting and in what quantity, like in what quality of form, what that condensed amount is. There's so many things to take into consideration. And in some way, shape, or form, over the however many years it's been, 13 years, 14 years, I've seen a lot of things in the field. And, if you have questions, because weird things come up all the time. This is a fringe industry, right? You have a lot of different marketing restrictions, serving restrictions, permits to consider. If you need help navigating all of the things and keeping all of your ducks in a row, making sure that you're not creating more chaos, please do not hesitate to reach out. hello@marinamars.com is my email address. Please do not be shy. Tell me that you listened to this episode and I would love to chat with you a little bit more. I may even offer you a free up to 30-minute consultation just to kind of get to know each other a little bit more so that I can see how I can help you. I also might be able to just know right away without even having that 30-minute call. So whatever we can do to make those results happen as quickly as we possibly can, again, can only happen if you take the first step by reaching out, sending me an email, sending me a DM on Instagram at Mocktails with Marina. Either way, I got you. So do not be shy. Thank you so much. I hope, you have an incredible rest of the year if you're listening to this as it live launches. Even if you're listening to it a little bit later, I hope that the magic of this new year is bringing you all of the love and joy that you deserve. And again, if you need any support, please do not hesitate to reach out. I got you. And again, one more thing I want to mention, please go ahead and look at the description of this podcast episode because there are links that are super helpful, extra resources. Even if I don't say it in the other episodes, they are always there. So go ahead and take a look because at the end of the day, we do this for you. So whatever questions you have, don't wait for me to talk about it on some episode. Just reach out.